right, so what we're doing is combining three things. Not only would I never waste your time speaking about something that's not relevant, but I wouldn't even waste your time speaking about something in a linear manner, because we don't have time. There's no time just to delineate. Facts are important, truth is nice, but who has the time? But if you could give me a combination of three ideas, three realms all together in a concentrated form, that would be really good. One of the greatest inventions is concentration. Concentrated orange juice. It looks like a small frozen little thing, but really it has the potential to make something larger. Here also I'm going to concentrate three things, which is history, leadership, and psychology. Three things that are relevant to our everyday life. History, we know that we're Jews, and we have to know where we're coming from in order to know where we're going. So history is relevant. Leadership is relevant because leadership guides you towards how to overcome and redirect your life. And psychology is really relevant because all of us, our goal is not just to make money and retire. And in order to do that, we need psychology. Part of the purpose of humanity is forming who we are, creating ourselves. So history, leadership, and psychology are really important. And so this realm of history that we're focusing on is 1840 to the present day in the region of Lithuania where some of us came from. And we're talking about the Musar movement. That was a movement started by one singular individual, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who had the leadership ability to call for a redirection. Okay, I call timeout, I call do-over. Leaders call redirection, where they see on behalf of their people that we need a redirection. Here's an important note about leadership. Take it home with you. That leadership is about vision, not votes. Leadership is about vision, that you have a certain clarity. You see something that not everyone else sees. You don't just wait to hear, oh, a vote, hey, what do you guys want? No, I'm going to have a vision of something that should be. I see it, and I'm going to work towards creating it. So as an example, Apple. Think differently. That's a great and important concept because there was a time period where people didn't have their whole music library with them. They had to select a CD to put into the Discman or Walkman. And Apple thought differently. Steve Jobs says, I see things differently. In an interview, he said they even invented the iPad before the iPhone. The whole concept, this, was invented beforehand. Now, nobody was going like this. People were going like this or like that. Nobody was going like this. So he said, I see a vision that the world should do that. It wasn't by popular demand. He didn't take a survey and said, hey guys, what would you like to see in a phone? He had the vision saying, I know this could happen in a phone, and I will have the vision and then the leadership to make that occur. Now, that reality of the vision, what was his vision? What's the one realm of Musar? If you translate it into practical English, it is become the idea. Take an idea, oh, that's nice, don't speak badly about other people, look at everyone good, give people the benefit of the doubt, don't be angry. Very nice idea. But the question is, can you become that? We always had this realm of become the idea, but in 1840 specifically, seeing that Jews were moving to urban areas, industrial revolution, people are getting busy and more distracted, he emphasized we need to become the idea. And he spread that throughout Eastern Europe and eventually to Germany and Paris. Now, he had spread it to a whole large population, but who were his main students? He had only three. And his main student was somebody who we're going to study today. His name was Rabbi Simcha Zisel Brody from Kelm, from the town of Kelm. And he took the ideal and he made it real. He took this vision and he made it real. Because Steve Jobs couldn't just think about how you have a new form of communication and phone. You need people that are in the actual R&D, playing around, creating that. You have to actually make it real. So too, there was a new vision. We need to redirect, go in a different way in becoming the idea. So now, how do you make an idea real? How do you take the ideal and make it real? So here is exactly how. I'm going to share with you this really important thing. So it goes like this. Let me just share with you some dates important. So 1840, Rabbi Saul Salanter spreads this vision. We need to internalize. Now, Rabbi Simcha Zissel, who is also known as the Alter, the old person from Kelm, he becomes a student of his. And when Rabbi Saul Salanter leaves to Germany and to Paris, he decides to come to Kelm, the town of Kelm, start a school, and plant the seeds that he gained from his Rebbe. Now, what we're going to look at is this one word, Kelm. You'll walk out knowing what Kelm is, because he was not just a person, a teacher. He didn't just create a school, but Kelm actually became a place. It became a reality. It's reported that there was a meeting amongst German chancellors of universities, and in that meeting, somebody got up and said that there's one subject that we don't teach. And the only place that this is taught is in one little Russian city, and it's called Kelm. And in Kelm, they teach the perfection of character, how you perfect yourself. So it wasn't just the person, the Alter, the old person of Kelm. It wasn't just the school, it was the place. Kelm was a reality. So our question tonight is, what is Kelm? Not what was Kelm, but what is it? Because it's an idea that all of us can tap into in the now. Okay, so let me share with you let me just lay down the quick 4-step groundwork of how it went down, and then I will fill in the philosophy. So he comes 1860, and he starts a school, because you cannot change a nation without changing the education. You could talk about ideas with adults all day long, but as we grow every day, our brain becomes more cement, we become more rigid, and you can't change. On the negative end, if you want to change a nation like Nazi Germany, study Nazi Germany. The war did not start in 1939. It started way earlier in 1933. With what? The creation of Hitler Youth. You had to indoctrinate youth to believe that. A nation couldn't all of a sudden walk around in uncomfortable boots, stepping in weird ways, holding their arms up high, which I could never do. You can't do that unless you start with youth. That's in the negative realm. Now in the positive, all the more so. If you want to make the world a more sensitive place, you can't just let your kids run around for 18 years, then call them on their 18th birthday and say, hey, listen, I want you to be sensitive, I want you to be nice, I want you to be a mensch, you should really be good to other people. It's too late. The reason why we spend money on education and train our kids from a young age, hopefully to be good people, not just to know mathematics, we train them to be good because that's the impressionable age. That's the age that you could be bilingual, you could study many languages, you are a sponge. So if you really want to take this idea of Musar and make it real, you have to start a school. And that's what he did, starting a school with young people and giving them not only a Torah education, but a secular education, which we'll discuss in a minute, learning Russian composition, mathematics, and taking these ideas and putting it into the curriculum. So if you want to get something done about a nation, you have to go to the youth to create a new generation. And that was his mainstay. Now, in 1876, somebody went to the Tsar and said, this person is starting a revolution. You've got to get rid of him. And he had to run away from the town of Kelm, and he ran to a place called Gruben, which is a smaller area. And there he started for approximately 10 years. He had a place where he took kids from young age, maybe right before bar mitzvah and further, and trained them. 1881, he moved back to Kelm and kept the yeshiva in Gruben going and started to gather all the leaders. He became a general of generals. All the great people came to him and learned from him. And then Kelm developed into this place that was an incubator of this idea, that was a physical space. Okay, and he eventually died in 1898. So we're talking his career span, 1860 to 1898. and he laid down the tracks of an education, and he created this place in Kelm, this yeshiva that was more than a yeshiva. It was a place of incubation. Now, here are the ideas I'm going to share with you. Just a couple of ideas that were behind this. So, number one, that he delineated very clearly that the goal is to become a whole person. In Hebrew, it's called Adam, a human, Hashalem, that's whole. You have to become a whole person. Let me define whole. Whole means that, as an example, I've shared this idea with you, that if I decided I want to become a bodybuilder and I want to lift weights, and I am a lefty, so it makes sense to me, let me get my left arm really strong. So for the 1-year program, I'm going to work out my left arm, have huge biceps on my left arm, because that's my most important for me. Then, that works out good, I will do the right arm. That would be ridiculous. If I'd be walking around with a huge, like, custom shirt, really big on my left, really flabby on my right, it would be weird. I would be imbalanced. So too, the concept of the whole person is, if you are obtuse, like a cartoon, like a Obama cartoon with big ears, or a Bill Clinton with a big nose, if you're obtuse, then you don't make sense. Even though you're great in one area, but if you're not balanced, then it all doesn't make sense. So a person has to become a whole person, well-rounded person. As I mentioned to you, my connection to this lineage of ideas is through Rabbi Freifeld. I once met with him. He never gave me a whole paragraph, but only a sentence. So I met with him. He said, you have to make sure that the instruments within your soul are balanced, that it comes out in a symphonic manner. There's a symphony, a harmony to who you are. One of the great mysteries of the world is the occupation of a conductor, because you would think that musicians who have been trained so well, who could read music, most probably could start all at the same time. And if you, like a ceremonial throwing out the first pitch, I would ceremonially at a symphony be like, okay, I will start the band, and hopefully these professionals should all keep time. Be ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, go. And that's it. I don't need somebody conducting that. The answer is that a symphony is really dependent on the conductor, because you have to make sure that all the instruments are balanced so that they can become symphonic and harmonious. If you hear one symphony orchestra, they play the same Beethoven as the other one. Why was one good, one bad? Because the balance was off. They didn't have a good conductor. The symphony is only as good as the conductor, because that conductor creates the balance. Kelm was one goal. We have to become a whole person. Now, what are the ingredients? So here, this is like a challah baking class in a spiritual. I'm going to give you the ingredients towards how do you become a whole person. Step number 1, clarity of context. One of the emphasis in Kelm was that you have to have clarity of context, which means that a person could say, yeah, I believe the world has a purpose. I believe that everything happens for a reason. But why and how? Investigate that. Don't be satisfied with the clarity that you have. Get more clarity. So the emphasis, step number 1 in the ingredient, like putting the flour down on the table, is you've got to get clarity as to why we're here and what we're doing. We're going to develop this idea more as we go along, but clarity is not a word that I invented or anyone else invented. It was being emphasized way back when, in which you wake up in the morning, whatever you had beforehand, you have to reboot and up that realm. So clarity of context, which means think into your belief system, why you believe it, why is it true. Be clear about the big picture. Step number 1. Step number 2, self-honesty. As I mentioned to you, the first time that I ever met Rabbi Freifeld, when I went to his yeshiva, said to me one line. He says, the key to success is self-honesty. Good luck. Shook my hand. That was it. Very smart, because I was very young and wouldn't remember a whole paragraph, but I remember the sentence. And that sentence still, and of course I was mystified. I'm like, I thought you were going to tell me the purpose of the world, all these cool things. What a genius, just telling me a little bit. So he told me the key to success is self-honesty. Good luck. And the concept is because in order for a person to become the idea, you have to be real with yourself. You have to really know who you are. Who am I? What am I lacking? What do I need? And how do I get there? But if you're not aware of yourself, you're not aware of who you are and what you need, then the ball game is over. So if you want to help someone in a psychological manner, in a career manner, you have to know your skills. If you ever study career counseling, take some Myers-Briggs test. What is it about? It's about what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? If you're not aware of that, then you're not going to be successful in business. If you're not aware of what your strengths and weaknesses are in a spiritual life form, you also won't be successful. And if you don't know where the pain is coming from, you'll never be able to heal it. You have to know what pains you, what's your issue. So, as we mentioned beforehand regarding Larry David, that it's okay to have a problem, but it's a problem when you're not aware that you have a problem. When you don't even know that that's an issue, that's really a problem. So step 2 in the recipe is self-honesty. Know what's your problem and what's not your problem. Okay, and then you'll get ideas and internalize it. So how? What's the next thing? So here's the most important of all of them I'll share with you. The Hebrew phrase is called menuchas hanefesh, which means menucha means to be rested, nefesh is soul. A quality of Kelm. You say someone is from Kelm, you say they're a Kelmer. If you know anyone with the last name Kelmer, the last name Kelmer means that they were from the town of Kelm. A Kelmer would work on themselves that they had menuchas hanefesh. Let me define this, let me describe this because it's so foreign to me. For some reason, we've spoken about the subway run often, that the obligatory run down the stairs as soon as you hear the rattling of a subway, thinking that maybe that's your train leaving. And oftentimes, all of us, no matter how much time we put ahead, we roll in a rushed manner. We're not settled like, oh, it's not here already, I have to get it. Kelm, the Rabbi Simcha Zissel, the Alter from Kelm, was known that he was in his body in a restful manner. It's a huge concept, that he trained his people at a young age to be here now. There was a thing, it's far away from me, but I'll share the idea, that a Kelmer would have his head fixed correctly on his shoulders. That means that he would look straight and deal with what he was dealing with. Not look around, what is it? Kelmer wouldn't turn his head. If he was studying, he would be concentrated in that realm. There's a famous story, and it became a children's book thing. I've read it to my kids, that somebody made a dare that I bet you could take a whole band near the Kelmer yeshiva and nobody will turn their head and nobody will come to the window to see. And that was true. They would look straight ahead and concentrate on what they're dealing with. So you have clarity in the general picture, self-honesty inside. How do you bridge clarity of context and self-honesty? You have to place your soul not in a meditative flotation tank, but in this thing called menuchas hanefesh, that I am at one with where I am. They said that the Alter from Kelm would never get flustered, would never be like, oh, what's going to be? He was always at one with himself in that moment. Now, that takes concentration and to get away from distraction, something that's very hard. I was working on this this morning and this afternoon, and there's always a temptation to make up, oh, let me just return this one email, let me just return that one text. And as I was writing about menuchas hanefesh, I realized that I had the exact ingredients to kill all my menuchas hanefesh because I was there, I would hear the vibration of my iPhone, be like, oh, let me just text one person back. Oh, okay, fine, I'll meet you later. Okay, fine. Oh, let me just deal with one thing. But what was I doing? I was trying to think deep, then distracting. Think deep, distracting. This goal, this zone in which clarity of context and self-honesty exists, menuchas hanefesh, you need to be uninterrupted. You need to be concentrated. Now, here's the linchpin, that in order to get to that realm of concentration, non-ADD, and being intentional and thinking about what you're doing, having an intentional life, you need a space to do that in. Not just a space in your head, you need a physical, emotional, community space that you can do that in. Therefore, Rabbi Simcha Zissel Brody created the yeshiva, the place Kelm, as a space where you can concentrate. It was not a school of, come on down, we're looking for more applicants. We want more people. No. Many people who are great scholars said that it took them many months to try to get into the yeshiva. That's counterintuitive. You're trying to spread this idea of becoming the idea. Well, the more people you get, the better. The answer is no. You had to be selected. Why? Because the goal is we're trying to create a space. One day everyone will get this idea. But right now, it started with Rabbi Yisrael Salanter as an idea. Then it moved to the school of Kelm. There were, more often than not, no more than 35 people in the place. And you had to be selected to come in. To hear the Alter from Kelm speak, only if you were part of the yeshiva can you come hear it. Why not? Spread it. Let everyone have it. Send it around on the internet. No, because you had to see it in context. He created an environment. Now, we all know there's a thing called that the environment that you're in facilitates what you're experiencing. Anyone who's treated themselves to a massage knows that, okay, there's a massage, some reason, people who are masseuse, however you say it plurally, masseusers, those people have really cool music that at that one moment, you're like, wow, I've got to get this CD. But of course, like, you forget about it, you just back out of there. You're like, man, how come those guys got the cool music? I would listen to that music all the time. That's really cool. Now, I think that massage is way better than doing it in a nail salon with people speaking foreign languages. Right? Or maybe it works, fine, but it's hard to work in Grand Central Station. It's hard. You need an environment for that massage. It could be the same massage, but the environment counts. So Kelm, in vernacular of the people there, it was called the bias. It was called the house. A house is a place, is a zone where it's your comfort, you're accepted. When people get married, it's not just about someone's lease being up and now sharing space and pooling salaries. It's about creating a house. A house is a warm environment in which you are accepted and we're all on the same page. A husband has his wife's interests in mind and vice versa. I want you to get to where you need to go. I want you to get to where you need to go. Kelm was a place in which everyone wanted everyone else to get to where they needed to go. And that's why it was selected. So we have clarity, self-honesty, menuchas and nefesh, but we have this thing called space. You need an actual place for this all to occur. Fine. Now, next step. Okay, so now you have a space where this can occur. So now what are we going to work on besides menuchas and nefesh, self-honesty, internalization? Well, here's a main thing that you have to take away about what the place Kelm was. Kelm was about increased awareness, meaning you could say, wow, this person is so detached from the world, they're so holy, they don't know what's going on. That would not be a praise in Kelm. If you really want to be a whole person, you want to have the instruments of your soul playing symphonically, you should be aware of your surroundings. That was a huge break in the normal educational system of the Jewish people. Until that time, they did not incorporate studying the language of Russia, of Russian composition. No, but they felt at this time, as we moved to the industrial era, that you had to learn the language of your people and be aware of your surroundings. And that's why they included secular studies into their yeshiva program. And here's the main thing, it's also about awareness of your surroundings. That if you want to have knowledge about yourself, it often comes by knowing other people. You can't be a full person if you're holy and spiritual, but you're a jerk as well. Being a jerk is a bad thing. You could be a great, smart person. Maybe many of you have had the experience of meeting a famous person, and all of a sudden you meet them and you're like, wow, that person's so famous, they're a jerk. They're really, if you're in their presence, for some crazy reason, our society, if someone was asleep for 100 years, woke up and saw, like, who do we give praise to? We give praise to actors. These people, we give them awards, they walk down a red carpet, they wave, we take tons of pictures of them, we're interested in their opinions about world policy. Bono, you play the very nice guitar, speak in front of Congress. You have important things to say. You're a really important thing. And then you meet one of these people, and you're like, person's a jerk. I'm disappointed. Don't be disappointed. They have the right to be as jerky as your dry cleaner. Just because they do a skill in which they make believe they're other people doesn't mean they're going to be a great person. They could be an idiot. You could be great in some areas, but a jerk towards others. Kelm, they emphasize, be aware of your surroundings in a secular, knowledgeable manner, and here's the main concept, be magnifying glass aware of your surroundings of other people. And that is the English word called sensitivity and empathy. To be sensitive to your surroundings and have empathy towards others puts you in a space where not only are you balanced in a whole person like someone who works out on both arms, but you are, by your knowing others, you're getting knowledge about yourself. When you think and help somebody with their problem, you gain insight into your own and vice versa. Kelm realized that in order for us to tap in to really internalizing ideas, we have to be sensitive to others. So let me describe this realm. So this realm is this hypersensitivity. So number one, that they wrote that people would take upon themselves, every day they're going to do something for someone else. Because in order to balance a realm out, sometimes if you have something metal, you need to bend it the other way. When you have an attribute of, let's say you'll be a narcissist and be concerned about yourself, they would go the other way. Let me be concerned about other people. Let me be aware about what you need and what you're going through. So sensitivity and empathy towards others hugely emphasized, to such a degree that insofar as personal property or little small things, they would be very careful not to mess around. There's a famous story, and if you look at the story in isolation, it doesn't make sense, and I don't understand how it's praiseworthy, but in this context, I think the story makes sense. That somebody said that somebody once left a cane in Kelm hanging on a certain hook, and they did not come back to that place for 13 years. And they came back, and the cane was still there. Nobody took it. Because that's someone's property. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to be sensitive to that reality. The concept in Kelm was sensitivity to others down to the last detail, meaning the microcosmic sensitivity to others was the gateway to greatness. Let me explain in a tiny minor example. Don't get lost in it, but here it is. Very quickly, you borrow somebody's summer house out in the Hamptons, and you buy food, and now comes Sunday, you're going to make the trek back to New York. You're like, oh, I got a half a gallon of milk left over here, and some Entenmann's. I'll just leave it in the fridge. Maybe they'll want it. They'll probably come out Thursday. The milk will still be good. Why should I throw it out? I got 1.5 Entenmann's donuts. Let me leave it for them. Guess what? Think into it for a second. It's your house. You want to come and see other people's remnants in your house? Throw it out. Throw out the milk. What is this? The war's over. Get rid of the milk. Now, but it's not just like, no, maybe they need it. Look, I left you some milk if you want the milk. No, let me think for 1 second. I have a house. I lent it to you. I want to come back. I don't want to have a hint that you were there. I don't want to have a hint. Not because I don't like you, because it's my place. I lent it to you. When you leave, clean up. Leave it the way that you left it. That's a Kelmer sensitivity that I thought so deeply in. Oh, I was in a rush. I'll leave it. Whatever. He'll throw it out. No. Throw it out yourself. Maybe he wants it. He probably doesn't. How do I know? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it for a second. Come on, think it to yourself. Think about other people. You know that when you come to your house, you don't want to see other people's stuff. It's half a can of jelly. You can still use it. It's fine. That little breadcrumbs in there, whatever. I use it with a bagel. I toast it. I like jelly on the toast. It's fine. Hey, take it out. It's fine. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be sensitive to who you are. Okay, now let me take sensitivity one step further, and here's the main take-home point. That the Alter from Kelm made a rule that there is going to be no workers in the yeshiva, no janitors, no workers, no illegal immigrants cleaning the floors in Kelm. Everybody's going to chip in. And they would have a rotation, just like in camp, where you would rotate. You would have one person sweeping the floor, another person doing this. Everyone would have to work. Well, what is this, cheap? You're saving money? I don't get that. Well, what does that concept mean? So here's what it means. It's really important. Is because if you're going to be a whole person and aware of your surroundings and sensitive to your surroundings, you need to be involved in the particulars of those surroundings and realize that I took out a paper towel, I just left it over there. Someone has to clean that up. I'm going to have to clean that up. And there's a famous story that a mother came to visit her son in Kelm. She was very, very wealthy, and saw her son sweeping the stairs. So she said, listen, I'll pay you extra money. I don't want my kids sweeping the stairs. So the Alter from Kelm said to him that if he cleans, in Yiddish the word clean and turn over are the same, if he cleans here, he will turn over the world. If he's sensitive to his environment here, he will be sensitive to everything. So this is the theory of broken windows. I want to share with you this little piece over here, which I took from Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell. Thank you, Kindle, for your ability to copy and paste. So broken windows is a very important thing, and you can read the whole entire thing, but basically it was a brainchild, as it says over there, that if you want to get the crime rate down, then make sure there are no broken windows, because if you just leave broken windows and glass all around, then what are you doing? People will conclude that no one cares, no one's in charge, and there's going to be a sense of anarchy and chaos. But if you start cracking down on the small things, you start realizing that, you know what? If there's chaos in the small, there will be chaos in the large areas. So the first experiment in broken windows was in the 1980s regarding the subway system, if you see there at the bottom. So those of you who remember have watched timepiece movies about New York City. In the olden days, Manhattan had lots of graffiti all over the subways. It's called bombing. Not actual bombing subways, but you would bomb that with your spray can and you would put your tag on it. That there's a concept that this is your name, this is your signature, that's your tag. And now if you tag a subway, then I have to now tag a subway because we're in some crazy competition about drawing things on other people's property called graffiti. You might think it's nice, but find your own canvas, but stop using public transportation items which cost millions of dollars for your personal canvas. Stop it. It looks sick. It looks crazy. It looks archaic. It's not cool. It's not funny, and I can't even read your name. I can't even know what you're saying. It's a language onto your own. Keep it to yourselves. So they made a decision. They were about to nothing you could do. Life is life. They were going to spend multi-billion dollars on new subways. He said, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to they worked, I think, first on the 7 line. They had a station. Every time it came back, they had a cleaning thing. They said no matter what, religiously, they would go and clean each train. And they would fight this. And eventually, it turned the reality around. New York is a much cleaner place, a much organized place with less crime than it ever had before. And the theory where it started was in the broken windows realm. I quote over here that when you understand in the middle that context matters, that specific and relatively small elements in the environment can serve as tipping points, so defeatism is turned upside down. And Malcolm Gladwell says that the power of context is an environmental argument. It says that behavior is a function of social context, meaning you're going to act in accordance to the environment that you're in. And if you have a reality of chaos, then we're all going to suffer from that. It will snowball. But if you don't have a reality of chaos, if you have a reality of order, then there will be a good society. Rabbi Freifeld summarized that good versus evil is order versus chaos. Order is not regimented stiffness. Order means that there's a scientific, ecological sensitivity that exists. In ecology, you take one fish out of the water, that affects other animals, which ultimately affects the entire area around that. There's an ecology to that. A Kelmer, if you have a coffee cup in the morning and you're walking and you throw the coffee cup towards the garbage can and it misses, don't just be like, whatever. No, you pick it up. Oh, come on, does it make a difference? Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Because if you want to become great, it's about focusing on the small. I mentioned to some of you that tonight's class is about don't sweat the small stuff because there is no small stuff. Meaning, nothing is small. Everything is big and attached. Don't sweat the small stuff because it doesn't exist. Nothing is small. Little things make great people. That when you go and you threw the can over there, you threw the coffee cup towards the can and you missed, and you pick it up, that's greatness. Because you're sensitive to that moment, that reality. This affects a whole world. Nothing freaks me out more than when I see somebody open a window and throw a Mickey D's thing out the window. I'm like, I don't have the chutzpah to do this, but I would be like, excuse me, I think you dropped your double Mac, whatever thing, I think you dropped out the window. Well, what are you, nuts? Are you crazy going to do that? How can you do that? How can you live in this world? So, obviously I'm not going to pull the guy over, especially if he's bigger than me, but I want to have a citizen's arrest though card. Like, that exists. But what I do is if I'm with my kids in the car, I will overtly speak out to them, that's wrong. You see what a person did? That's wrong. With my commentary, why am I being negative? Because I don't want them to see that and be used to that that's okay. If a kid takes a gum wrapper, throws it, drops it on the floor, got to pick it up. Why are you picking it up? Come on, it's dirty, it's on the floor. No, because that's chaos. For me to live and grow and be a full human, I have to be sensitive to that whole environment. So part of a Kelmer is being sensitive to your surroundings. Broken windows is just a reflection. It's a practical application towards subway and crimes of what Kelm actually brought down, that there's no such thing as small. There is nothing small in the world. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Any questions on that? Okay, so it goes like this. So this process of having a great person called the Alter of Kelm, who's the #1 disciple of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, and he creates an educational system. It was a model of an educational system. He did not, if you want to create a new form of education, start with one school and work on that one school. You cannot get on a bullhorn and say, all right, we're going to change all New York City schools. Change one, and then we'll work from there. You want to change the face of the Jewish people, start with young people and change it in one place. And that was Kelm. A Kelmer, the question is, why was he called the Alter of Kelm? Alter in Yiddish means the old person. In Hebrew it's translated as the Saba. Those of you who know Hebrew know that Saba means the grandfather of Kelm. What does that mean? That he was called the grandfather? Call him rabbi. Call him sir. Call him old man, the elder, the grandfather. What does that mean? Concept is that ultimately when you learn wisdom, hopefully you're born from that wisdom. That wisdom should recreate you. Just like you're born from your parents, you should be born from wisdom. Now, parents, there's a limited amount of children that they have. Grandkids, there are people that live in Israel. Sometimes you read an obituary, oh, they died, they had 1,000 descendants. There are people alive in Israel that have great-great-grandkids, have 1,000 descendants. I don't even know all their names. It's amazing. A grandfather means, biologically, I gave birth to you, but I form you from a distance, meaning I give you a larger thing. The new reality of education, which we'll take further, was that people were becoming born from their education. That, that's my grandfather. Just like hopefully from all of us, those of us who knew our grandparents, we should have learned things, deep things, not just smoking cigar things, but like deep things from our grandparents that we take home. The Alter from Kelm was a deep person that people felt that they were his grandchildren. And for us, just like, you live in this world, Seinfeld, you never heard of the show? You never heard of it? Where have you been, under a rock for the past 25 years? How do you not know that? You're Jewish, you don't know Kelm? You never heard of it, a Kelmer? You ever heard of Kelmer sensitivity and growth? Where have you been? Kelm is an important vocabulary word for all of us, because if you want to work on yourself and make it real and internalize it, you're going to have to, number one, be in an environment. Number two, you're going to have to turn on sensitivity. Now, I'll pause over there, I'll take any questions, and I'll give you the final 2 minutes. So is that called, what's the difference between being a Kelmer and being a people pleaser? In other words, People-pleasing is a disease. Meaning, people-pleasing is like, oh, is it okay that I stand here? Is that fine? Am I breathing? Am I taking any action? It's fine. I can go away. People-pleasing is like, oh, you're comfortable? I want you to be comfortable. Here you go. We want to listen to my music. I'll stand. You sit. That's not sensitivity. That's insecurity, and there's a very big difference. Insecurity means I don't feel comfortable about who I am, and I want you to like me. So I will be hypersensitive to your needs to such a degree that I am a chameleon of sensitivity. That all of a sudden, if I hear you sneeze, I run, I get a tissue, I go out, I buy vitamin C, I change the environment. Oh, let me shut the windows, fine. That's hypersensitivity because I want you to like me. Now, a Kelmer wouldn't do that because that's annoying. If you like me, why are you annoying me? And you should be self-aware enough to realize that that's annoying. So when a person is a people pleaser, they have insecurity, they get focused on pleasing, but they get so focused on the pleasing that they become not pleasing. As a famous example that I've given some of you, is that if a person in a relationship asks the other person in the relationship, do you like me? Just want to know, you do? That's great. Now, I just want to make sure. So you like me. The relationship's going well, yeah? Good. That's great. I am happy that you're happy because you like me, as you said, right? You like me. Okay, cool. Thank you. Now, that conversation goes on another 5 minutes. That person stops liking you because you've asked me so many times, do you like me? I don't like you anymore. I liked you before this conversation started. If you would have gotten my answer on the third time I repeated that I like you, things would have been fine. If I'm repeating to you in various sentences 20 times, I like you, I'm beginning to not like you. The people-pleasing insecurity actually becomes self-defeating. Sensitivity is, are you comfortable? That's good. If I ask you multiple times, I'm annoying. I will not do that. Okay? Everyone is related to Jews here in the room, and sometimes we have relatives who might be older who sell food. Come on, eat it. It's good. It's healthy. It has protein. It's good. It's good for you. It's good. I'm not in the mood for soup right now. I don't want tomato soup. No, I know tomatoes are good. I don't want it. No, it's good. It's fine. I have extra. Eat it. No, don't want it. You're annoying me. You're not pleasing me at that moment. The concept of a Kelmer is I'm sensitive and I know when to shut up, because I am truly sensitive. So there's empathy combined with self-esteem. If you fake out Kelmerism because you're just trying to hide your insecurity, that's not the real thing. It's sensitivity to environment as a gateway towards becoming a whole person. And when we all do it, now we have a mobile Kelmer reality. Kelm was destroyed by the Nazis. Nobody lives in Kelm anymore. Doesn't exist except right here in our minds. But all of us in interpersonal relationships can create a semi-Kelmeresque reality of sensitivity, and that's okay. That's a good thing. The gateway to maturity, the threshold of maturity, is when you stop trying to be funny or cool and you start creating an environment where people can grow, where you and the person, your significant other, can grow, you and your group of friends could grow. If you're telling the same jokes you did in camp, if you're making the same crude remarks, then you're not having an environment of sensitivity in which we can grow. All of us have to spray the room with Kelm. All of us have to create in that room a vibe where I want to grow, you want to grow. Let's have a bond between us that will enable and facilitate that reality. The end. Stay tuned, guys, for more good stuff. Thank you.